What's going on? Welcome back. So, it's been a while since I posted anything about the Q50. I know, I've been busy. Let's see, got a new job, moved up to a higher organization, so I've been working there, busting my ass, getting home late, and just haven't had time to do stuff. But it's a 4-day weekend, and I want to show you what I'm working on today. So as you can tell from the title of this video, I am working on doing a little bit of a wire cleaning and tuck on the Q50. So what I've already done is cleaned up this corner right here. There was a bracket here and a bracket over here that held on some miscellaneous wires. This ground and this ground were here and then down in there. And those wires just came across right here. So if you have a Q50 with a VQ, you already know what I'm telling you. Well, by removing those brackets, I was able to pop this bolt up, rotate that wiring around into the backside, and then mount my grounds in place where the bracketry was mounted, which cleaned up this whole corner dramatically. So I'm really happy with that. On this side, I have yet to do it, but I'm going to get this harness moved, the bracket taken off, this bracket taken off, and I'm going to attempt to relocate this power wire from the front of the car around to the back side behind the manifold and put it back in to get it off the front of the engine. My goal is to also clean up this right in here, and I've already taken the time and done this, but I wanted to set it up the way it looks now, so that way you have a representation of what it looked like before compared to after. So let me set the camera up and I'll show you what's already been done to clean up this portion so you can do it at home. Alright, so from looking at it from the top first, I wanted to find a way to do this that didn't require cutting the wires if possible, and I was able to achieve that by basically stripping all of the wire loom that was on this engine harness pre-existingly all the way down to the very back down here. By doing that, I was able to untangle some of these wires in here and get them freed up to their own separate little sections. Also, there was a ground, this one right here, that was mounted on that side, which was pulling this entire harness this way. So to give me a little bit of extra room, about 2.5 inches worth, I disconnected the ground and removed the plastic box that was sitting here that held a relay. And what I ended up doing was installing that relay into that box instead. Then I just wrote on top of the box what the relay is, so that way I don't forget. So by getting rid of this box altogether, I was able to ground this out on the existing hole that was held in by the bracketry that held the black box down. So it'll have the same ground point, it'll have the same amount of connectivity, it's just in a different location to allow this wire to move freely. Once that was done, I disconnected every wire coming down through, to include the fog lights, the reflector, this little box here, disconnected the horn, which I also relocated up here for an intake install that I'll explain in the next video. I disconnected the back wire off of the headlight right here, and then popped all of the little clips off of the wiring to free it from the car. You'll see in the box over here, this is everything that came out of the passenger side. So here's all the little clips that I popped out. I didn't cut them, I simply just shoved a really small flathead into the crevice, lifted it up, and then pulled the cord back out, just in case I decide to use them later on for something new. So once I had the whole harness pulled out of the car and laying in the engine bay, I re-ran it under the fender through this hole here, and then routed it right back down the way it was before. But instead of it on this side, it was on this side. And then plugged everything right back in, and it all came in together the way it was supposed to, and landed in the same exact spot at the end. So the way that I am concealing this wire is using the pre-existing plastics, and I cut a notch. So you'll see the notch that's cut right here. It's not a drastic notch, it's just a little bit. Then on the inside, I hollowed out all of the area around So that way the cord could come around that corner and kind of lay in this channel. So that way, when this piece of plastic is laid down, let me show you here. This piece of plastic is put in place and shifted in. What it ends up doing is sitting just like that. So you see it's flat on the surface of the car for the pin, and it's flat on the surface of the car back here. So it's not raising or elevating the plastic in any way, shape, or form. I just trimmed it enough to get it to come through right here so it had somewhere to give. And then on the other piece, did the same thing. I notched it right there, so that way when I reinstall this piece and line the notches up, everything notches down and hides, and you can't see any of the cable whatsoever. So super easy to replace and swap without cutting any wiring. Now I don't have a welder, so for right now I'm going to make a plug out of ABS plastic that I can slip down into this area right here. Go ahead and show you. I'm going to use this as a template, and what it's going to do, it's basically just going to look just like this piece here, but it's going to slide down and it's going to be 100% solid, and then I'll paint it K23 silver, or I'll wrap it with the color match vinyl wrap that I have that I've used to cover up some of the holes on the tubs here. But with that said, I'm going to go ahead and shift over and bring my attention to getting this line removed from the battery and getting it disconnected and taken to that side of the car. Alright, the starter power line has been moved around the back side of the manifold. Essentially, to do that, this top plastic shroud that holds the line connecting down to the bottom is bolted right here, and then bolted right down there on a screw. If you loosen that bottom screw, take the top screw out completely from right here, you can then push this whole entire assembly backward, zip tying it to the bracket just behind it, and then tightening that bottom screw back down. From there, you can then reroute your power line up and behind the throttle body, through under the tubing from the back of the manifold, and then back around and back into its original location. Additionally, to prevent rubbing on the power line and this tube going to the throttle body, I took the tube off, took this entire plastic shroud that protects it, pulled it off, rotated it around, and took it around the back side of the bend on this side instead of the bend that was going around this way. So now anything leaning up against this tube is now protected, and it's not going to wear through the hose and affect the cooling system coming out of the throttle body. So there's one more down. Once the intake's put back on, you'll never see this cord here at all. So super effective way to hide that. So now with that done, you need to move into getting this that plugs down here and down here disassembled and relocated and routed through here to come out of that hole right here behind the dipstick. So I got to take this bolt out and pull this forward to get the clips through that hole. So I'm gonna go ahead and knock that out now. Alright, this corner is done. As you see, the lines were ran up into the base under the manifold and through the recess underneath this channel, and it popped right out that hole behind the dipstick and then plugged right into to its original locations. So that cord is gone. I then took, as you saw, the grounds. I took the grounds off completely, re-loomed them entirely, and then pushed the ends on this side down back to the rear behind this box, and then angled these back toward the rear instead of to the front how they were, just so this cord runs in line with all the other cords, keeping this whole front corner here nice and clean. So far so good. Now this corner here, I know for a fact that I cannot make this entire thing disappear, wires and all, because in order to do that the wires have to be cut in half and they all have to be extended at least 2 feet to be able to get through the hole in the fender. It's all the way back here and then ran all the way around. So I don't want to do that right now because I don't want to cut into any wiring. So I'm going to do it a little bit differently. It'll still be clean and it won't look like this, but there may be some out there that prefer just to leave it as is, but we'll see what you think at the end. So go ahead and jump into getting this torn apart and getting this rewired. So overall, this turned out really good compared to what it was and compared to what little destructive work I actually did. The only area I wasn't really all that happy with is this driver's side column, mainly because I was hoping to eliminate wiring completely, but instead all I was able to do was eliminate the big black box and some random bracketry that was in the way. And I just wasn't about that life right now, trying to cut into a bunch of wires when I need to drive this car in the next couple weeks. What I did, you may not think was all that worthwhile, but I think it looks good compared to the black box that was there before, and I'm happy with it. If you don't like it, that's fine. You're all valued to your opinions, and so am I. I like the way it turned out. I do wish I could have found another place to put these grounds, but I didn't want to have to get up under the car, try to find a spot. So you saw I just rerouted them around to the back, off the face of the engine, and I think it looks really good the way that it swoops down and just stays out of sight. So not too bad. Aside from hitting this with an aluminum brush to get some of this mess off of the aluminum cover, I'm happy with it. I think it's gonna be good. I do have a aluminum reservoir coming. A buddy of mine on Instagram hit me up and told me that he had one for sale. So I picked it up, and it'll be here in about a week or so, and I'll get that swapped out. But other than that, for now, this is about where I want it to be. So if you're enjoying the content, again, be sure to like, share, subscribe, and I will see you all again on the next one.